Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to Medium Ayurita bin Muhammad and my fellow friends. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Amayasir bin Mahayadin and I'm from Group 3A. And today our group and I will be presenting a topic of the effect of personality during a second language acquisition. Okay, now folks, some students or some person to be in fact learns a language much faster or much slower depending on its her condition, because it has a very own factors and traits that kind of affecting the way the progress of the language learning. Some students may be learn on their own, or some students may be learned formally through schools. Of course, some language to acquire a language, it requires a determination, a motivation, and hard working. Of course, the most cliche things, but there are also some non-noticeable factors including infecting the success. They are largely beyond of the learner. These factors are also can be contributed as internally and externally. Okay, now there are two factors that determine, which is internally and externally. For internal factors, it are those the individual language that learner brings him or her to the particular learning situation. There are some subunits of it, such as personality. Okay, there are two types of person: introverted and extroverted. Introvert or anxious learners usually make slower progress because of his or her attitude, because he is shy, or his or her oral skill may be kind of slower when compared to the external ones. The external one, to be in fact, has experienced the world through contact with the others because of their personality, of course. And that brings me on to the personality. And of course, experience takes the factor as well, because learners have acquired the general knowledge and experience in a stronger position to develop a new language than for those who don't. And the next one is also motivation. These people should have their own motivation to learn a new language, because for those who are learning but don't have the motivation, will always stop at the middle, not completing all the way to the end. And that's pretty much it. And thank you.
Thanks everyone. Today I'll be presenting about how risk-taking and self-esteem will affect language acquisition. People who are afraid of taking risks will be less likely to put themselves in situations where they could fail or feel uncomfortable. And language learning is, of course, a giant leap into a sea of awkwardness. When you are learning a new language, you simply have to make mistakes. There is no way around it. Students who don't take risks won't get corrective feedback, thus won't improve as much. Some research has concluded that good learners take many risks. However, some other research, like LMBB's 1983 study, found that highly motivated learners are often moderate risk takers. These learners make intelligent guesses. It is also widely thought that language learners is highly global, general, and have high self-esteem, that takes more risk. Unwillingness to take risks can lead to fossilization of errors, and teachers should encourage the students to take risks. This may not be surprising, as a great deal of second language acquisition research has focused on the importance of self-esteem or self-confidence in language learning. A 2005 study by a social psychologist, Roy Baumeister, noted that the difference between high and low self-esteem. Those with higher self-esteem are more independent, more willing to start a conversation, even with strangers, actively participate in a group discussion, and deal with failure in a positive manner. All these behaviors play into language learning. Low self-esteem, on the other hand, can cause a person to communicate less and be more socially withdrawn, which would obviously have a negative effect on their language acquisition.
Salam sejahtera, especially to my lecturer, Madam Ayurita, and everyone else who are currently viewing this video. Right, so my name is Ganesh Rajasegren, and I have two group members along with me, which are June and Amayasir as well. Right, so based on the topic that my group members and I have chosen on, the effects of personality on language acquisition is that firstly we think anxiety have the most possibilities to affect on language acquisition, right? So why do we think so? Is because the word anxiety itself is defined as the feeling of being scared and the feeling of being nervous about what's about to happen. Alright, and there are also few symptoms of anxiety, but I'm going to point out only 3 symptoms of anxiety. Alright, firstly is that sweating, second is fast heartbeat, third is heavy breathing. Alright, moving on to the next part. Alright, so moving on to the next part is that there are 5 types of anxiety. So the first one is beneficial anxiety. So what beneficial anxiety actually does is that it actually motivates the learner to perform better in their daily tasks. So which actually also means that it motivates you to do better. Alright, so the second one is we have inhibiting anxiety. So what inhibiting anxiety actually does is that it will actually make you feel down, and technically it's what anxiety does to all of us. It makes you feel down, and in order for you to not feel anxious about it is to not do it. Alright, so that is what inhibiting anxiety means. And the third one, we have trait anxiety. So what trait anxiety means is that it's normal for a person to feel anxious and to be anxiety at a specific reason. Alright, so we have the fourth one. The fourth one is state anxiety. So what state anxiety actually does is that you will feel anxious at a specific point of time. And we have the fifth one. The fifth is situation specific anxiety. So what situation specific anxiety means is almost similar as state anxiety, whereby the students will feel anxious at a specific point of time. Alright, so moving on to the next part. Alright, so the next part is empathic. So how does empathic actually affects language acquisition is that first off, we know that empathic means someone has the ability to understand someone else's feeling by just listening to their stories. Alright, so technically there are 4 bad habits of empathic. Alright, so the first one is talking to strangers, and second is that challenge prejudice. Challenge prejudice means by searching what makes people different from them. And the third one is listen hard and open up, whereby we know empathic type of person likes to listen and listen to people's story in order for them to know someone else's situation better. Alright, so the fourth one, which is the last one, is that develop an ambitious imagination. Alright, so simply by being aware of people's emotion and the feeling of others. Alright, so that is all from me. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, in a nutshell, from us personally, things that the factors that my friend I told earlier, because of there are basically there are 2 things: introverted and extroverted. Extroverted person acquires the second language much faster and a much better way compared to introverted ones, because one thing, they are not shy. They have the confidence to talk and to ask people and to try, although at that time maybe their pronunciation or their grammatical is not particularly great, but they will slowly develop to become a better one, right? Compared to the introverted one, they are shy. They are not really, they are not brave enough to ask or maybe to try out loud like most of the introverts did. So they just keep quiet and shy. That's maybe they are in their own world. So kind of hard to acquire a second language unless they have a good motivation and a good reason to acquire a language, because maybe they want to have some sort of ambitions that require them to acquire a new language. Okay, that's maybe helping for them, but if they are not, maybe it is kind of hard and maybe it takes a long time compared to extroverted one. So I think that is all for us. Thank you very much, Madam Ayurveda, for the time, and have a good day. Stay safe and get well soon, Madam. We love you.